Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. This question comes from Andrew Varan 3498, and this was in response to upgrading the Roland System-1 firmware to version 1.3, a video I did quite a while ago. Actually, it was not that long ago, January 2020. Funny enough, it was one of the last videos I did in the old place before I moved here. What Andrew writes is a common question actually on the Roland System-1. Do you lose the plugouts that you have loaded after a firmware update? I am going from 1.2 to 1.3. So it is a very, very common question, and it's something that is very misunderstood. So first of all, in short, you do not lose the plugout registration by doing a firmware upgrade. However, sometimes in order to get the new things that the firmware upgrade gives you, you have to do a factory reset to load those new features onto the system ROM. And when you do a factory reset, it will reset the machine back to factory. And of course, when it came out of the factory, it didn't have the plugouts on it. So you will lose the plugouts then. Now, I've often seen CDRE equipment being sold as including plugout. These people should be shot because it is misleading. And the reason why it is misleading is because it misses an important point, which is the plugout is registered to a Roland Cloud account, not to the instrument. And therefore, the plugout is not technically theirs to sell. Although you buy the machine and the machine is bought with the plugout installed on it, as soon as you do something, you will wipe the plugout out, and you have no right of recourse to get that plugout back because you don't own it. It's a subscription item through the Roland Cloud, and unless you own the cloud account with that subscription on it, you have no right to use it. That's the legal position. So the important point to remember is plugouts can't be traded. So if you see people saying, oh, sold with XYZ plugouts installed, unless it's the System 8 that actually came with the Juno 6 plugout as part of the firmware, all the other plugouts, the SH101, the ProMars, all the other ones that came down onto System 1 and System 8 are not tradable. And there is no mechanism within the Roland Cloud environment for you to move licenses from one to the other, because those licenses are individually subscribed to through the cloud account. You know, it's a real gotcha, and most people don't understand that. So if you bought a plugout from a previous seller, you're buggered, is what I would say. Now, the other thing I mentioned, not really strictly relating to the comment, which is the ARIA boutique does have a number of quirks. My experience of those is you're doing something and you can't get it to do something you know it can do. It's just refusing to do something. It's refusing to reset a parameter or something like that. And quite often what I find is that in those circumstances, the way to fix the problem is to do a factory reset. Do a factory reset and all of a sudden the problem goes away. And many people have kind of said, well, I lose all my patches. Well, you have to get into the process of connecting your instrument to your computer, running the backup process on the computer and the instrument, and copying all the patches out, doing the factory reset, and then copying all the patches back in. Because again, if you do a factory reset, it will reset all those patch banks back to factory. Anyway, I hope that clears things up. Maybe I'll do a 10 most asked questions on the System-1 like I did on the MX1 a little while back, because that seemed to be quite popular with people. You know, these are the 10 most common answered questions or something like that. Anyway, I'll think about that one. Next comment question comes from XP50 Player. This is in response to Moog lower price. Moog lower price. People would buy more. Luma 1, I can't wait. Mailbag I did in December 2023. XP50 Player writes, Moogs were always made in the USA, which doubles or triples the costs over other lines and brands for slave wages in developing countries. Guitar players are well acquainted with this concept and prefer USA made if they can afford it. The typical parts and construction are a step up as well, and would certainly see Moog say over Behringer. Okay, this really touches on a contentious issue, driven by the pursuit of profit and the need to satisfy external stakeholders. Companies moved manufacturing from local plants to the Far East, where labour and overheads were cheaper. Not only did these short-sighted executives move the manufacturing, but they gave these regions all the intellectual property as well, in my view. And to be complete with homegrown brands, as you would say in the UK, giving away the crown jewels. Now, some 20 years later, Western governments have just realised, just realised now, that we're now being held to ransom by these Far Eastern manufacturing bases, because they can do it cheaper than we can, but they're starting to ramp up the price because they're no longer as cheap as they were. Arguably, the Far East produce a product that should be of better quality, as the product lines are more modern with the latest production techniques built in processes. These techniques are built into the processes from the start. But you really need to form your own conclusions on this stuff. But it was about pursuit of profit. A lot of these manufacturing moved to the Far East, and really, does it actually benefit homegrown businesses for them doing that? What we do have is we have a bunch of bosses that made those decisions, have since retired on fat cat pensions, and have walked away from the mess that they've now created. That's my view. You may have a different one.